In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of functional programming in Java. So let's get right into coding.
Okay, so for the start of the video, let's briefly explain what do we mean with functional programming in Java. In Java, we are very used to write our methods this way. We have to define a return type to our method, we have to define a name for our method, and we can pass arguments to our method if we want. And our arguments are usually some sort of data, so objects or primitive data types. And what we also do a lot of times is that we call another method inside our outer method. So for example, in this method, we could call the print high method. What we are not so much used to do in Java is that we can also pass this print high method as a parameter itself to the sum method. Instead of our string or integer parameter, we can pass a method. And this is what functional programming is about. So for the start, let's try to pass our print high method to this sum method. Okay, so how can we write that? How can we write our code that it will be possible for us to pass the print high method to our sum method? Well, we need to use the Runnable interface from Java. This is the Runnable interface. As you can see, it is sort of a special interface. It has the functional interface annotation, and it has a single method that is called run. And we can see that this method has no return type, and also it takes no arguments. And this is exactly what we want to have for our print high method. So we do not want to return anything, and we also do not have any arguments. The functional interfaces in Java can be used to pass methods to other methods. So let's just write this. Let's say we pass a runnable over here. And now to execute whatever we pass with our runnable, we need to call runnable.run. And let's call this method now runnable executor, because it does nothing else than just taking a runnable and execute it. Now in our main method, we can create an instance of our functional business, and we can say functional business dot runnable executor, and then we can pass our print high method to the runnable executor. So we can say functional business, then colon colon, and then print high. And we can execute that. And as we can see, it just prints high onto our console, just like we expected. So what did we actually do? We called our runnable method and passed our print high method as a parameter. And we did that by using the method reference syntax in Java. And we can use this method reference syntax because our print high method is exactly what the run method expects. Void return type and no arguments. We can also use another syntax. We could also have said open and close parentheses, then the arrow, and then say functional business dot print high. And it would just do the same thing. And we can even write whatever we want over here on the right side of the arrow. So we could also say system.out.println hello world, and now it would execute that. So we can actually use the method reference to pass a method, or we can just define the behavior over here by ourselves. Okay, now what if we want to write another method? We want to say public void print, but this time we do not only want to print high, but we want to print whatever string argument we pass to our method. So let's say system out println string. Now we cannot really use the runnable anymore because the runnable does not take any type. What we could do is we could go over here. We could now say functional business dot print and now say hello. But now we would basically define the input value of our print function from our main method. And this is not what we want to do. We want that the method or whatever method calls our print method can actually define the argument from the inside. Now we would just pass the parameter from the outside, but we want to be able to pass it from the inside. So how can we do that? Now we can write another method. We can call it public void consumer executor. And now you can already see which functional interface we're going to use. We're going to use the consumer interface. And we will say consumer.accept. And now let's just define any string. So let's say hello. Okay, so let's try to call our consumer executor. So we're going to say consumer executor, and now we actually have to define an argument because while for the runnable we did not need an argument, we now have a argument. So let's say s for string, and now say print functional business.print and whatever s is. And we can now see that the IDE is complaining because we have forgot something. The consumer functional interface is actually using a generic type because it will take a argument to its accept method of whatever generic type we define. But we did not define this generic type over here, so we need to do this. If you're not familiar with the Java generic type so far, I also made a video about this topic and I will leave it linked in the info card. So if you're not familiar with the Java generic type, then you can just watch this video and come back afterwards to the functional programming. Okay, so now we defined our consumer executor the way that it will take a consumer of type string, it will accept the string and then do whatever method we passed. Okay, so now we can see that the syntax is working, and let's have a look what is happening. Okay, so we call our consumer executor and we pass the print function to it. In our consumer executor, we pass hello to our method, and then it will print hello to the console. So it just works just like we expected. Now again, our print method has exactly the signature of the accept method in the consumer. So we can also use the method reference. So we can say functional business, then colon, colon, and then print. And it will still work. And now if we go over here and we change this to hello world, we will see that if we call it, it will also print hello world. Okay, so maybe you are starting to see a pattern. We can have a method and pass another method to it as an argument. But we need to find the correct functional interface to do that. And there are a lot of functional interfaces in Java. I will just mention two more that are very important. One is the supplier interface, and another one is the function interface. The supplier interface takes no argument and returns a type of whatever generic type we defined, and the function interface takes an input of whatever we define and a return of whatever we define. I will just show you the function for now to not make the video too long, because it's, I think, a bit more interesting than the supplier. So to define a method that takes a function and will execute it, we will say public void function executor, and now it will take a function that will get an integer as input and return a string. And we are going to say system out println function apply, and we're going to pass 25 as a value. Now on our main method, we could go and say functional business dot function executor. Now we can pass any integer, so let's say I, and now we could say string dot value of I. So the string value of takes an object and returns a string. So what we would expect now is that it will print 25. And again, in this case, as the signature matches what our function expects, we can also just say string : value of, and it will work the same way.
And that's it with the basics of functional programming in Java. If you are interested in this topic, and if you want to find out how you can use the Java Stream API to really improve your code, consider a subscription to this channel, and I will soon upload a video on that as well. Until then, see you next time, and thank you so much for watching.